The sky was burning red. Smoke covered everything. Explosions shook the ground. The last human colony on planet Vetra 9 was dying. People screamed and ran for cover, but there was nowhere left to hide. The Zarn were coming. Strange, powerful, alien creatures with no fear and no mercy. Their ships were dark and sharp like flying knives. They came fast, breaking the human defense lines like paper. Commander Lyra stood in the main control room, watching the final battle on the big screen. Her face was covered in sweat and ash, but her eyes were calm. She had known this day would come. For weeks they had sent messages to the Galactic Council, asking for help. No one answered. The other alien races had already given up on humans. "They're too weak," the Council said. "They cannot survive." Now it looked like they were right. "Commander, the Zarn are inside the outer wall," said a young soldier, his voice shaking. Lyra nodded. "How many people are still in the city?" "Less than 5,000, he said. "Mostly children and old ones. The evacuation ships were destroyed yesterday." There was silence for a moment. Then Lyra turned to her communications officer. "Send one last distress signal. Use the emergency frequency." "Commander," the officer said softly, "no one is listening." "Send it anyway," she said. "Even if it's only to remind the galaxy we were here." The signal went out into the stars, a whisper in a cold, empty sky. Lyra knew it was hopeless, but something in her heart refused to quit. She stood tall, watching the enemy get closer on the map. The red dots moved like blood, flooding every street. Suddenly the room went dark. Then the lights came back, flashing yellow. A warning. "Unknown ships detected in orbit," the computer voice said. Everyone turned to the screen. 3 new ships had arrived, but they didn't match any known design. They were black and silver, shaped like claws, and they moved like they were alive. "Are they Zarn?" someone asked. "No," Lyra said, staring at the screen. "There's something else." The new ships didn't answer any calls. They didn't speak. They just dropped down into the atmosphere and attacked. Not the humans, but the Zarn. Bright beams of light shot from their hulls, cutting through enemy ships like butter. Within minutes, 5 Zarn cruisers were destroyed. The control room fell silent. Everyone watched in shock as the impossible happened. The Zarn were running. Their ships tried to escape, but the new attackers chased them down. Fire lit the sky. One by one, the invaders fell. Then, just as fast as they had come, the strange ships stopped moving. A message came through the main system. Not a voice, but a set of simple words on the screen. "Your signal was heard. We are Deathworlders. Prepare for contact." Lyra read the message 3 times. Deathworlders. The word didn't make sense. She looked at her science officer, who had gone pale. "I've heard that name before," he said quietly. "Old records, stories. Not all humans stayed on Earth. Some left hundreds of years ago. They settled on death worlds, planets where nothing should live." "And they survived?" Lyra asked. "They didn't just survive," the officer said. "They changed." The sound of heavy engines filled the air. One of the black ships landed just outside the base. Dust and fire swirled around it. A ramp opened. Out came 5 figures, tall, armored, and silent. They walked like shadows, their faces hidden behind dark helmets. The leader stepped forward. He removed his helmet slowly. His skin was pale, his eyes sharp like a wolf's. He looked human, but different, stronger. "Colder, I am Kale," he said. "We heard your call." Lyra stepped forward. "Are you here to help us?" Kale looked around. He saw the burning buildings, the wounded people, the scared soldiers. "No," he said. "We are here to finish what you could not." "What do you mean?" Lyra asked, frowning. "You asked for hope," Kale said. "Hope is not what we bring. We bring the end of this war and of everything weak." The soldiers raised their weapons. Lyra lifted her hand to stop them. "You're human," she said. "Why would you say that?" Kyle's eyes met hers. "We are not the same as you. You stayed soft. We did not." We were forged in pain, on worlds that kill anything slow or kind. We learned one truth. Mercy is a lie. He turned and walked away, leaving silence behind him. Lyra stood still, heart pounding. The Zarn were gone, for now. But something else had arrived, something just as dangerous, and the war was far from over. The camp was quiet, but the silence felt heavy. People watched from windows and doorways as the Deathworlders walked through the streets of Vetra 9. Children hid behind walls. Soldiers kept their hands close to their guns. No one knew if these strange humans were friends or something worse. Kale and his team moved without fear. Their armor was scratched and dark, showing signs of many battles. Their eyes looked cold, like they had seen too much death and stopped caring. They didn't talk much. They didn't smile. They looked at the human survivors the way a hunter looks at prey. Calm, careful, ready for anything. Commander Lyra followed them, staying a few steps behind. She had many questions but didn't know where to begin. What did they want? Why now? Why help them? They entered the command room. Kyle stood at the center, staring at the galaxy map. He pointed at it without asking. The Zarn are not your worst problem, he said. There is something worse inside your own walls. Lyra frowned. What do you mean? Kyle turned to her. Some of your people are traitors. They sent signals to the Zarn. They helped plan your fall. That's not possible, Lyra said. No one here would. Kyle raised his hand, and two of his soldiers dragged a man into the room. His face was bruised, his hands tied. Lyra recognized him at once. Captain Merrick, one of their own. He worked with the Zarn, Kyle said. He gave them your defense codes. He sold you for a promise of power. Merrick struggled. It's not true, they're lying. Kyle didn't blink. He drew a long, sharp blade from his belt. Then, without a word, he stabbed Merrick through the chest. The man gasped, then dropped to the floor, dead. The room fell into shock. Lyra stepped forward, angry. You had no right. He should have been questioned, put on trial. Kale wiped the blood from his blade and looked at her calmly. We don't do trials. We deal in truth and results. Lyra's hands shook. We're not like you. No, Kale said. That's why you keep losing. There was a long silence. Outside, the sky rumbled again. A Zarn scout ship flew past the city and vanished into the clouds. They'll be back, Kale said, and next time, they'll come with a weapon strong enough to destroy this entire planet. What kind of weapon? Lyra asked. Kale pressed a button on his wrist device. A hologram appeared, a dark sphere the size of a moon. They call it the Sun Killer, he said. It drains all energy, heat, light, life. When it's done, a planet becomes ice. Lyra felt cold inside. How much time do we have? 2 days, Kale said. Maybe less. We can't fight that. You can't, Kale agreed. But we can. The other Deathworlders nodded. They were ready for this. It was the kind of fight they lived for. But we'll need full control, Kale said. No questions. No delays. We don't work with rules. We work with victory. Lyra looked around the room. Her officers stared back, unsure, scared. Could they really trust these killers? Could they give up control of their last stronghold to strangers who didn't believe in mercy? If I say no, she asked, then you all die, Kyle said without emotion. Lyra took a deep breath. Everything in her mind screamed against this. But her heart knew the truth. They had no choice. Fine, she said. You're in command for now, but I'm watching everything. Kyle gave a small nod. Good. Then watch closely. Because we don't save, we erase. He turned and left the room, his soldiers following behind like shadows. Later that night, the Deathworlders moved through the camp again. They found more traitors, people who had hidden supplies, stolen food, or sent messages off-world. Each time they acted fast. No trials. No mercy. People began to whisper. Some were afraid. Some were angry. But others started to believe. Maybe these monsters were exactly what they needed to survive. Lyra stood on the rooftop, watching the stars. Somewhere up there, the sun killer was getting closer. The Zarn weren't finished, and neither were the Deathworlders. The morning air felt colder than before. The sky over Vetra 9 was cloudy, hiding the stars. People in the colony moved quietly, avoiding the black-armored soldiers who now controlled their streets. The Deathworlders had taken command, and everything felt different. Commander Lyra watched from the command center. She had given them permission, but now she wondered if it was a mistake. Kyle and his soldiers didn't follow orders. They followed only one rule: destroy anything that stood in their way. "They're not here to save us," she said softly to her second-in-command. "They're here to finish the fight in their own way." Outside, the Deathworlders were already on the move. They had blocked off the southern sector of the colony, and were searching every building. People were pushed aside, questioned, and scanned. No one knew what they were looking for, until they found him. It was Jalen, a young human pilot. He was popular in the camp, known for his kindness and bravery. But today, Kale dragged him out into the open and threw him to the ground. "He's a traitor," Kale said loud enough for everyone to hear. "He helped the Zarn track your ships. He sent messages to their fleet." Lyra rushed to the scene. "Wait, he's one of ours." "Not anymore," Kale replied. "We need proof. We need to—" Kale didn't wait. He drew his weapon and fired once. Jalen collapsed, dead. A scream came from the crowd. Someone shouted, "He was innocent." Kale turned to them. "This is war. War doesn't wait for truth. War demands action." People stared in silence. The message was clear. Under Deathworlder rule, there would be no second chances. Lyra stepped in front of Kale, furious. "You've gone too far." Kale looked at her, calm as always. "You gave us control. This is how we win. Fast, hard, no weakness." Lyra's fists tightened. "This isn't saving humanity. This is killing what's left of it." Kyle didn't answer. He turned and walked away, leaving the crowd shaken. That night, the Deathworlders worked alone in the old military lab. Lyra ordered a drone to fly above and watch them from a distance. What she saw shocked her. They were building something, not a weapon but a tracker. It looked like they were trying to locate something far away in space. Something big. Lyra zoomed in on the screen. Coordinates were flashing. The words "Sun Killer" appeared again and again. The weapon Kyle had warned them about. It was close. Then the image changed. A strange symbol appeared, not Zarn, not human. A different kind of language. "What is that?" Lyra asked. The science officer looked nervous. "That's not from the Zarn, that's old tech, pre-Earth tech. It's artificial intelligence code." Lyra's heart skipped a beat. "You're telling me they're tracking an ancient AI?" The officer nodded. "Looks like it." Lyra stared at the screen. Kyle hadn't told her everything. The next morning, everything got worse. A massive sound shook the colony. Alarms screamed. The sky turned dark, not from clouds, but from a shadow moving across the sun. People ran outside and looked up. A huge black sphere had entered orbit. It was silent, smooth, and terrifying. The Sun Killer had arrived. Kale appeared on every screen in the colony. His face was serious, eyes sharp. "The Zarn have made their final move," he said. "This weapon will drain all energy from this world. You will freeze. You will starve. You will die." Gasps filled the colony. Some people dropped to their knees. Others cried. "But we have one chance," Kale continued. "We can stop it, but not from here." Lyra spoke up. "What do you mean?" Kyle looked at her through the screen. "We have to go up, into space, into their ship, destroy it from the inside." "That's suicide," Lyra said. Kale's voice didn't change. "Maybe, but that's the only option." A transport ship was already being prepared. Kale and 3 Deathworlders would fly directly into the Sun Killer. "No one else comes," Kale said. "This is Deathworlder work." Lyra tried to argue, but Kale wouldn't listen. "You want to save these people? Let us do what you can't. As the transport lifted into the sky, Lyra stood with the crowd watching it disappear into the clouds. She didn't trust Kale. But right now, she had no choice. The Sunkiller waited above, silent, cold, ready. And the Deathworlders were flying, straight into its heart. Let me know if you'd like to continue with Part 4 next. You said Part 4, ChatGPT said here is Part 4. Into the Sunkiller, written in third person using simple English, continuing the suspense with 800 words. The stars grew darker as the Deathworlders' ship rose into space. Below, Vetra 9 looked small and weak. Smoke still rose from the broken colony. But none of that mattered now. The Sunkiller was above them, huge, silent, and deadly. Inside the ship, Kale stood at the front, staring at the dark sphere ahead. It looked like a black moon, smooth and cold, with no windows or lights. But they all knew it was alive in its own way. It was a machine made for one purpose, to end life. "Weapons ready," said Rain, the pilot. Her voice was calm, steady. "Stealth mode on," said Drax, the tech expert. He was the youngest of the group, but his hands never shook. The last Deathworlder, Silva, said nothing. She just checked her blades one more time. She preferred silence over words, and blood over mercy. Kale looked at them. "We only get one. Chance in and out. No mistakes." They all nodded. They didn't need long speeches. They had trained for this since they were children, on death worlds where even the air tried to kill you. Back on Vetra 9, Commander Lyra watched from the command center. The screen showed the small Deathworlder ship approaching the giant sphere. She held her breath. "Are they really going in there?" her officer asked. "They're not like us," Lyra said. "They don't fear the dark." As the Deathworlder ship neared the Sunkiller, a small hatch opened in the black surface. No warning, no lights, just an opening, as if the machine was waiting for them. "They're letting us in," Drax said. Kyle narrowed his eyes. "Trap?" "Of course," Rain replied. "But we're going in anyway." The ship entered the hatch slowly. Inside, everything turned quiet. The black metal walls around them were smooth and empty. No guards, no lights, just silence. They landed in a long tunnel. As the ramp opened, the cold hit them first. Not just cold like winter. This was a dead cold. No life. No warmth. A place built by machines that didn't understand life. Kyle stepped out first. His boots echoed on the metal floor. The others followed, weapons ready. Suddenly, lights turned on, pale and white. A voice spoke, not in words, but directly in their minds. "You are not Zarn." Kale raised his weapon. "We're worse. You do not belong here." "We don't care," Silva said coldly. The hallway changed. Walls moved. Shapes appeared. Mechanical creatures with sharp arms and glowing eyes. Defenders. "Here they come," Drax said. Kyle moved fast. He fired a blast that tore through the first machine. Rayan shot two more. Silva ran forward, slicing through the others like they were paper. They didn't stop. They didn't slow down. Back in the colony, Lyra saw the ship disappear from sensors. "We lost them," someone said. "No," Lyra said quietly. "They're still in there, fighting." Inside the Sunkiller, the team reached a massive chamber. At the center was the heart of the machine, a glowing core floating above the floor. It pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. A machine's heart. Drax scanned it. "This is it. If we destroy the core, the Sunkiller dies." "But," Kyle asked, "it's protected. Strong shields and something else." "What?" Drax looked confused. "It's learning. Watching us. It's adapting." Suddenly, the walls came alive. Robotic arms reached out. The floor shifted. More machines dropped from above. Kale shouted, "Hold the line!" The team fought hard. Every shot counted. Every second mattered. Silva took a hit to the shoulder but kept fighting. Rayan ran out of bullets and switched to blades. Drax planted the explosives around the core. 30 seconds. he yelled. Kale covered him, taking down the last machine. Then, just as Drax hit the timer, something strange happened. The core spoke. I know what you are, Deathworlders. You destroy everything. Kyle looked at the glowing orb. We destroy threats. I was made to protect the Zarn, the voice said. They feared you. I understand why now. Too late, Kyle said. You chose the wrong side. The timer hit 0. Kyle and his team ran back toward their ship as fire filled the chamber. The explosion shook the entire station. Outside on Vetra 9, the people saw it, a flash of light in the sky. The Sunkiller cracked open, pieces falling like dead stars. They did it, Lyra whispered. They actually did it. Cheers broke out in the colony. For the first time in days, there was hope. But Lyra wasn't smiling. Get a signal, she said. Find out if they made it out. The screen stayed silent. No response. Then finally, one voice. It was Kale. We're alive. Mission complete. Coming home. Lyra closed her eyes in relief. But even as she smiled, a strange thought entered her mind. If the Deathworlders could destroy something as powerful as the Sunkiller, what else could they destroy? The sky above Vetra 9 was finally clear. No dark shapes, no alarms. For the first time in weeks, people walked freely without fear. Children played in the streets. The sun felt warm again. The Sunkiller was gone. But peace never lasts long. Commander, Lyra stood at the colony gates as the Deathworlders' ship landed. Its engines were damaged, its hull burned. But it had returned, and that meant Kale and his team had survived. The ramp lowered slowly. Kale walked out first, limping slightly but standing tall. Rayan followed, arm in a sling. Drax had burns on his hands. Silva moved quietly, her face unreadable as always. The crowd watched in silence. Some clapped, some stepped back. No one knew what to say. Lyra stepped forward. You did it. You saved us. Kale looked at her. For now. She frowned. What do you mean? He didn't answer right away. He looked up at the sky, then back at her. There's something you need to see, he said. Later, in the command center, Kale placed a small, black cube on the table. Drax tapped it and a hologram appeared. It showed a recording, not of the Sunkiller, but something else. A room, a voice, a secret meeting. Lyra's eyes widened. She knew that room. It was in the old Earth Alliance, headquarters. The voice spoke, activate the Sunkiller. The colony must fall, blame the Zarn, then take control of what's left. Lyra's hands shook. That's our own leaders. Kale nodded. The Sunkiller wasn't built by the Zarn alone. It was made with human help. No, that can't be true, she whispered. Drax zoomed in on the screen. That's Admiral Heston, he's Earth Command. They planned this, Kale said. They sent you here, left you to die, and when it was over, they would return. As heroes, Lyra sat down shocked. Her people had trusted Earth, prayed for rescue, and now, the truth hit like a knife. Why would they do this? Power, Kale said. Control and fear. They feared what you might become. Independent, strong, free. Outside, the people celebrated. They didn't know the war wasn't over. They didn't know their real enemy wasn't alien. It was human. That night, Lyra called a secret meeting with her officers. She showed them the recording. Some refused to believe it. Others cried. One officer shouted, "We should go home and fight them." Kyle stepped from the shadows. No, not yet. Why not? Lyra asked. Because Earth isn't ready, and neither are you, but they will come, and next time they won't pretend to help. What do we do? Kyle's eyes were cold. You prepare. Prepare for what? He leaned in. For war. The next day, things changed. The Deathworlders began training the colony's soldiers. They set up combat drills, weapon labs, and, Scouting missions. They didn't explain everything, they just said, "Trust the pain, it will teach you." Lyra watched them. Brutal. Efficient. They turned scared farmers into fighters, weak minds into warriors. One night, as she walked past the training field, she saw Silva teaching hand-to-hand combat. A young girl stood shaking in front of her, too scared to fight. Silva stepped close and whispered, "No one is coming to save you. You either learn to fight or you die." The girl cried, but then she swung. Missed. Swung again. Hit. Silva smiled. Lyra looked away. This wasn't the future she had imagined. But maybe it was the only future they had left. Later, Kyle sat alone, staring at a small metal coin in his hand. It was old, worn. It had the Earth Alliance symbol on one side, and a child's name on the back. Lyra approached quietly. "What's that?" "My brother," Kyle said. "He died when Earth bombed our world. They said it was an accident." Lyra said nothing. There was nothing to say. "That's why we left," Kale continued. "Why we became Deathworlders. Earth creates soldiers, but forgets the cost." Lyra looked at him carefully. "Do you hate them?" Kale didn't answer right away. Then he said, "No, I hate what they became." He stood up. "And I won't let them do it again." The stars above Vetra 9 were peaceful now. But in the shadows, something darker was coming, not alien, not machine. Human, and this time, the colony would be ready. 3 weeks after the Sunkiller was destroyed, the sky above Vetra 9 changed again. A fleet appeared. Not Zarn, not pirates. These were human ships. Big, clean, and shining with the Earth Alliance symbol on their sides. They came without warning. No message. No greeting. Just silence and shadows as their ships floated above the colony like watchers. Commander Lyra stood outside the colony command post, staring up. Around her, people whispered nervously. Some cheered. Others stayed silent. "They came back," one child said. "Earth came to save us." But Lyra didn't smile. Her face was tight, her eyes cold. She knew better now. Kyle stood beside her, arms crossed. "They're not here to help." "Then why are they here?" Lyra asked. "To clean up their mess." The main Earth cruiser sent a message at last. A man appeared on the screen, tall, proud, wearing a shiny black uniform. His voice was smooth but empty. "This is Admiral Heston. Earth Alliance has arrived to restore order. Please prepare to transfer command." Lyra's heart skipped. That voice. It was the same one from the secret recording Kale had shown. Her? The man who helped build the Sunkiller. Lyra replied calmly. "This colony is stable. We don't need Earth control." "You are not authorized to refuse," Heston said. Kale leaned closer to the screen. "We know what you did." Heston's face didn't change. "You should be careful who you accuse, soldier." "I'm not a soldier," Kale said. "I'm a Deathworlder." The screen went black. That night, Earth Alliance soldiers landed on Vetra 9. They wore silver armor and perfect smiles. They handed out food, medicine, and small Earth flags. They told stories of rescue, of rebuilding, but Kale watched them closely. "They're not rebuilding. They're softening you." Rayan nodded. "Make them comfortable, then take control." In secret, Lyra called her officers and showed them the recording again. Heston's voice, the Sunkiller plans. Proof. Most believed her now. A few still hoped it was a mistake. "I trusted Earth," one officer said. "My brother died for them, and they used his death for power," Lyra replied. "We all lost someone." Meanwhile, Kale sent Silva and Drax into the Earth camp at night. Disguised, hidden. They hacked terminals, searched data, listened to conversations. What they found chilled them. Earth's plan wasn't just to take over Vetra 9. They wanted to control all Deathworlder zones, to find them, weaken them, and slowly erase them. "They're scared of us," Silva said. "Scared of what we've become." Lyra clenched her fists. "Because we're not under their thumb anymore." The next day, Heston called a public meeting. Everyone gathered in the colony square. He stood on a stage, smiling. His soldiers lined the edges, armed, watching. "My dear colonists," he said, "your struggle is over. We are here now. Earth is here." A few people clapped. Most stayed quiet. Kale stepped forward. "You mean Earth is here to control us?" Heston chuckled. "Still alive, I see. I was hoping the Sun Killer finished you." Gasps filled the crowd. Heston didn't stop. "You're not a hero, Kale. You're a problem, and Earth removes problems." Kale didn't move. "Then do it. Right here, in front of everyone." Heston's smile faded. His soldiers raised their weapons. But something happened. No one expected. The colonists stepped forward, one by one. Farmers, engineers, teachers, children. They didn't have weapons, just courage. They stood between Kale and the Earth troops. "If you fire," Lyra said from the crowd, "you'll have to go through all of us." Heston's eyes narrowed. "This is treason." "No," Lyra said. "This is freedom." A long silence followed. Then Kale spoke. "Your move, Admiral." Heston gave a final cold look. "You've made your choice. Earth will not forget this." He turned and walked off the stage. His ships didn't leave, but they didn't attack either. That night, under the stars, the colony held its breath. What happens now? Someone asked. Lyra looked at Kale. He didn't smile, but his voice was calm. "Now we prepare. Earth won't stop, but neither will we." And as the stars burned quietly above them, the people of Vetra 9 understood something clearly. The war was never truly about aliens and or machines. It was about control, and now they were finally ready to fight for their own future. A dark cloud hung over Vetra 9. Earth's ships stayed in orbit, watching from above like silent vultures. On the ground, their soldiers patrolled the streets with cold eyes and loaded rifles. But the colony didn't bow. In the training fields, colonists trained day and night. Farmers learned to fight. Children learned to survive. The Deathworlders had turned Vetra 9 into something Earth had never expected. A fortress. Kale walked the walls, watching the sky. He didn't sleep much anymore. Every hour, he expected the attack. And when it came, he knew it would be fast, cruel, and total. Lyra stood beside him. "Do we have a chance?" Kale didn't answer right away. He looked at her, calm but serious. "If we fight their way, no. If we fight our way, maybe." Down in the command bunker, Drax had cracked Earth's encrypted data. He pointed at a map glowing red. "They've built a command ship, the Bastion. It controls all the others. If we destroy it, the fleet loses coordination." Silva grinned. "Then let's break the brain." "But it's shielded," Drax said. "Heavy defenses. Impossible to reach." Rain smirked. "Nothing's impossible, just expensive." Kale leaned over the map. "We'll need a distraction on the surface, enough to pull half their forces down. Then we sneak into orbit, board the Bastion, and take it from the inside." Silva nodded. "A suicide plan, I like it." Lyra looked at them all. "I'll lead the ground force." Kale blinked. "Are you sure?" "I'm tired of hiding. If we don't fight now, we'll never be free." They shook hands. No more. Words were needed. That night the storm broke. Explosions lit the sky as Earth Alliance soldiers dropped from orbit. Gunfire echoed through the streets. But the colony was ready. Lyra stood on the front lines, leading the charge. Her voice cut through the chaos. "Push forward, no retreat!" Her people fought like Deathworlders, fierce, fast, fearless. Earth soldiers were well trained, but they weren't ready for this. Meanwhile, Kale's team launched in a stealth ship, flying low through space debris. The stars flashed around them as they neared the Bastion, Earth's largest command vessel. It was massive, shaped like a blade and surrounded by drones. "We're in their blind spot," Drax said. "Just 10 seconds. Alarms blared. A beam of light hit the ship. "They see us," Rain shouted. "Punch through," Kyle ordered. The ship crashed into the Bastion's hangar, sliding across the metal floor. The team jumped out, weapons ready. "Move!" Silva shouted, slicing the first guard in one clean strike. They stormed through the halls. Earth troops fell back, surprised, unprepared. The Deathworlders didn't slow down. At last, they reached the bridge. Admiral Heston stood there, calm, as always. "You should have stayed in the dirt," he said. Cale raised his weapon. "And you should have stayed on Earth." Heston drew his sidearm and fired. But Cale was faster. One shot. The Admiral fell. Drax ran to the control systems. "I'm in. Sending signal." On the surface, Earth's machines began to fail. Drones dropped from the sky. Ships floated dead in orbit. The fleet was blind. Cheers rose from the colony. Lyra looked up and whispered, "They did it." Back on the Bastion, Cale's team watched as escape pods launched from Earth's ships. The fleet was retreating. "It's over," Rayan said. Cale looked at the stars. "No, it's just beginning." They left the Bastion in silence, watching as the Earth fleet jumped into deep space. No more commands. No more control. Vetra 9 was free. Weeks later, the colony gathered in the central square. The building still bore scars from battle. But the people stood tall. Lyra stepped forward. "We were meant to be forgotten, broken, controlled. But we stood. We fought. And now, we choose our own path." Cale watched from the crowd, silent. He didn't want medals. He didn't need thanks. He just wanted to know one thing, that it had been worth it. A child walked up to him and handed him a small metal coin. It was shiny, new. It had a new symbol, a flame and a star. "What's this?" Cale asked. "A new start," the child said. Cale looked at the sky, then smiled. The Deathworlders had come when all hope was lost. Now hope was born again.